Hello and welcome back to Chasing Excellence, a show about chasing what truly matters. My name is Patrick Cummings. Thank you so very much for joining us. This episode, I'm here by myself for a little introduction. Before we get into the episode today, we've got a convo that Ben and I had originally in March of 2023, all about the 10 pillars of trusting the process. This started with something that Ben had created for his elite athletes through CompTrain, and I thought it was just as applicable for us normies. So we took the 10 pillars of trusting the process, brought them out of the arena of elite fitness, and talked through each one of those pillars. They include things like defining success for ourselves, keeping perspective, going pro, respecting time, and of course, a handful more. Before we get into that conversation, though, a couple little things and some news and notes. First thing is we're going to be sending out a survey in the next couple weeks. We've never done this before, so I'm actually excited to do so. ChasingExcellence.email, get on the newsletter list. We're going to send it out probably on a Monday, possibly the next Monday after we release this, possibly the one after that, with just a couple questions about what you think of the show, what you think we should do with the show, advice you may have for us as we continue to go and grow the show. Obviously, we just did a little reformat shift, so I wanted to give it a little bit of time for folks to kind of get used to what we were doing, and then you can give us some feedback so that we can continue to make it better, continue to make it useful, continue to make it valuable to you all out there. Okay, so again, ChasingExcellence.email, get on the newsletter list. We will send that survey out in the next couple weeks. Before we get into the 10 pillars conversation, I wanted to give you a quick recommendation roundup because I like doing this and hopefully it's useful to you. Two things sort of unrelated, but were related enough to me that I want to give you two recommendations. The first is the Enlifted podcast with Mark England and Kimberly Kessing. I've been listening to this lately, and it's great. Mark and Kimberly were both on the show probably shortly after COVID, shortly before COVID. That whole couple years is all one big blur. They were on the show, though, and they're great. They run a company called Enlifted. Enlifted is all about mindset training for coaches primarily. And what they talk about a lot is the importance of story, words, and breath. I'm not going to get into all of that, but if you want to check them out, Enlifted, Enlifted, check them out. I really like them. They're good people and they're doing good work. But the reason I bring them up and the reason it gets me to the second recommendation is, as I mentioned, is story, words, and breath. The breath thing has always been, I've always been like, let's do more of that stuff. Let's do more of that breath work stuff. And I haven't really quite figured out how to do it effectively. And then as I was listening to their podcast, I remembered an app that I used many, many years ago. This was probably 5 years ago. And it was one that Brian McKenzie, for kind of folks who have been around CrossFit for a long time, will recognize the name. He started CrossFit Endurance, has since moved on to lots of other things, including a deep dive into the importance of breath and breath work. And he at some point had started or been on a team that started an app called the State app or the Shift State app. I don't think he's part of it anymore, but that doesn't particularly matter for our purposes. What I remembered is, I had liked that app. And so I re-downloaded it. I checked it out. It's still good. It's still great. And I've been using it almost every single day. And what it is just a really simple, short, guided breath exercises. Things like being present, waking up, feeling alert, recovering quickly, feeling calm, falling asleep. And they're these 2 to 3 to 4 minute breath work exercises with a nice little visualization so you can kind of breathe along with the app. And I really like it. And so if you also, like me, have been thinking about or trying to figure out how to incorporate breath work into your daily practice, I really like the State app. So again, shiftstate.io is just my recommendation for you. And again, Enlifted podcast with Mark and Kimberly. Also, if you're a coach, if you want to work on mindset, I highly recommend that. Okay, last thing I promise. Let's say thanks to a few sponsors before we get into the full conversation. We're brought to you this week by OneSkin. OneSkin is the world's first skin longevity company. You can learn more at oneskin.co. And if you use the code excellence, you'll save yourself 15% off your order. OneSkin is designed by an all-woman team of scientists who have targeted cellular senescence, a key hallmark of aging. Their topical supplements are gentle, soothing, and free from over 1,500 chemicals and preservatives that can irritate your skin. Not only do I love how it feels, but I also appreciate its scientifically proven efficacy and safety for all skin types, especially if you've got sensitive skin. OneSkin is more than just a temporary fix. It targets the root causes of aging to optimize our skin biology and make it more resilient. It's been clinically proven to strengthen the skin barrier, improve skin health markers, and diminish visible signs of aging. For a limited time, you can try OneSkin for 15% off using the code EXCELLENCE when you check out at oneskin.co. That's 15% off your order at oneskin.co with the code EXCELLENCE. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. You can let them know that we sent you. That helps support the show, and we thank you for it. Give your skin the scientifically proven gentle care it deserves with OneSkin. We're also brought to you this week by Lumen. Lumen is the world's first handheld metabolic coach. Learn more by going to lumen.me/excellence, where you'll be able to save yourself 15% off your purchase. What does Lumen do? With just a simple breath, Lumen tells you what's going on with your metabolism in real time. It tells you whether you're burning fat or carbs and gives you personalized nutrition advice for that day. We all know metabolism is at the core of how our bodies function. It's how we turn food into fuel, and optimal metabolic health can lead to a host of benefits like easier weight management, improved energy levels, better fitness results, and even better sleep. Lumen is here to help us achieve all of that. It's not just a quick fix solution. Instead, it's a tool that provides crucial insights and guidance for your life. It helps you understand and improve your metabolic health. But remember, as we talk about here on the show, it requires effort and lifestyle change to see real and sustainable results. If you want Lumen on your team while you pursue your health goals, go to lumen.me/excellence to get 15% off your Lumen. That's lumen.me/excellence for 15% off your purchase. Okay, my friends, let us get into this conversation about the 10 pillars of trusting the process.
This is something I created probably back in 2016. And I use this with my elite athletes.
Cool.
So as a part of their competitors' playbook.
Yep.
And I would give them a whole bunch of information and worksheets to work through to basically like, here's what I believe it takes to be an elite athlete. And this was one of them. Here are our 10 pillars that we need to focus on in terms of trusting the process. Basically, eyes straight ahead, don't get distracted by all the flashy lights and everything else. If you think of it in terms of trying to accomplish great things. Well,
I think this is appropriate for elite athletes, certainly, but for really anybody.
And that's where that's for sure, right? But if we're trying to accomplish things, so people set goals. What ends up happening is, and we've talked about this before, but everyone focuses on the end state of the goals, which are really sort of outside of your control. Whether you want to run a sub 4-hour marathon, whether you want to get a promotion, whether you want to find the love of your life, right? The end state of where those things actually end up aren't really inside of your control. And really what matters is, more so, is the steps that you need to take in order to achieve those goals. So if those things are for the 4-hour marathon, if it's run 3 times during the week and one of those being an interval, the other 2 being moderate 4 to 8 milers, and on the weekend, you're going to do a 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, so on the long, there's your process. Along with, I'm going to eat enough to fuel. I'm going to make sure I'm getting my sleep. I'm going to make sure I'm recovering and seeing my chiropractor. And so there's your process. Once you state what your goals are, and I'm not saying skip that step, once you can almost shelve them and put them over there. And the more you pay attention to the end goal, you might be getting distracted a little bit. Instead, try to continually pull yourself back to the process. And that's what the idea was with my elite athletes, but obviously it worked with anybody pursuing anything that they want to pursue.
Anything that requires obviously a process by which you achieve that thing. Okay, so back to what I started with, defining success, ensuring that you have control over that success by tying it to internal benchmarks.
Well, that kind of leads into what, that's kind of like conceptualizes what that idea was. Like, let's figure out what the goal is, but let's also make sure that we have control over it. Now, when you pull this back far enough, you end up kind of like, so people go, okay, so I want to make $1 million. Okay. do you really have control over that? If you work your ass off and do all the right things, the universe still might not reward you. You might not get. So what ends up happening is, and I'm not saying this is the right or wrong thing, as you pull back and make this really controllable, the actual thing goes away and it actually falls you back into the process again. And when you get far enough into it again, it's no longer actually about the actionables of the process, because you might not have control over that. If it's running the 4-hour marathon, maybe you get hit by a car and you can't run for 3 months. Well, okay, then it becomes about your character and what is the approach and the attitude you're going to take towards the process every single day. And that's what, if you can get that level of success down towards that level, well, then you can chase it no matter what's happening around you. You still own that pursuit. So let's use that marathon. The ultimate goal is success is a sub 4-hour marathon. The process to do that is those weekly runs and the long ones, the sleep, the recovery, the nutrition, all of that. But what I really want to do, the way I'm going to define myself, is the ability to look in the mirror every single morning saying, I am doing everything I can to accomplish my goals. Okay, now we're not being distracted. And even if you get hit by the car, you just have to shift the process a little bit. But you
can still move towards
Yes,
that.
Exactly right. It's
100%.
totally inside your control.
Love that. Okay, second one is be responsible. Are you responding or reacting? No one and nothing can make you upset without your consent.
Okay, so this is like working with my elite athletes. It's always like, it's not the coach's job. It's certainly not the judge is going to influence you. It's not what the CrossFit puts out for the workouts. It's you. It's up to you. Tom Brady didn't come Tom Brady because he was a part of the Patriots. He became Tom Brady because he freaking was Tom Brady. Like, he took total ownership of that. The people that are like understanding that this is on me. Now, being a part of a great system and having a great coach are bonuses, but I'm going to do everything I can. I'm not going to look for anyone else to make this happen. And I'm not going to use anything else as an excuse. This thing is on me. And whatever comes along the way that knocks me off course, I'm not going to react. Think of the negative words that are associated with that. Overreacting. I'm going to respond. Think of the positive words that responsible. Like, this is the whole, I'm going to take ownership and be responsible for everything that happens along this journey. Whether I get rewarded, recognized along the way, or the opposite. People try to knock me down or derail me. Nothing that anything does externally can affect me internally.
Love that. Number 3 is come ready. Do you accept the challenges that are coming? Visualize yourself giving total effort throughout, no matter what.
What most people do when they learn about visualization is visualize perfection. Visualize the perfect thing. Visualize yourself in the corner office, making $1 million, running the business, being the CEO. But what they don't visualize is the actual struggles along the way to get there. And that's what we want to be ready for. If it's all smooth sailing, guess what? You're going to be just fine. It's when you go up against it and you're trying to be that CEO and you're managing this small sales team and no one is meeting their quotas and no one is bought in and no one's listening to you. How are you going to work through that? That's a challenge. And that's what we want to be ready for, is not the blue skies and the smooth waves, but when it gets stormy. Are we ready to handle that? If you're going to sail around the world, no one has to prepare for the beautiful days. You got to prepare for the storm and what's going to happen when you face that in real time.
Number 4 is be present. Are you where your feet are? Fine-tune the mundane routines of the day to maximize your minutes better.
So this goes a little bit to, like, people get so caught up into what their goals actually are that they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so far from it. And they stress, anxiety, doubt, depression, all these things seep in. Or they're so tied to their past, like, I've never done anything. I've never actually accomplished this. When I've set my goals before, I've always fallen off. Like, I'm a loser. I'm going to be fat for the rest of my life, whatever it might be. Those are always going to be there. So I'm not pretending like we're always going to live in this little tiny moment bubble of this 1 second. They're always going to be there. What we're trying to do is not get distracted by them. Is when you feel yourself drifting that way, pull yourself back into this moment, because it's really the only moment that you can influence. Anything that's happened in the past, I I know you didn't want your car to break down on the highway. I know you didn't want that to happen. Okay, you sitting there continuing to be pissed about it is not moving us forward at all. We got to recognize all these small little things. It's easy to recognize that in the big one, right? Your car breaks down the side of the highway and the level of stress rises. But this happens all the time. All the time. When you come into the gym and the class is going on and you're not in the spot that you normally go to.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And you feel like you got to let that go. You got to let all these tiny little things go so you can continue to give your very best. Here's a weird one today. I was warming up in the class, taking the 7:30 class at CF&E, and as I'm going through like a power clean progression, the member in front of me farts. And that was distracting. And I was like, oh my God, like right away, my brain went away from where I was to like, it went to all these different thought processes of like, should I say something? What if that was me? Is it going to smell bad? All this. And I wasn't focused on, remember this follow process. I wrote this for people that are trying to be the singular best in the world. Those little tiny little things pull you away. You're being pulled away. You can't give everything. So what I used to do with these athletes, you would know this, is during their workouts, I would purposely give them distracting things so that the challenge would be really obvious. While they were doing overhead squats, I would just kind of, touch the back of their head a little bit with a band. Just so I don't like this, but okay, you can't control it. Pull yourself back in.
It's a slight tangent, but I feel like I've heard you say recently that mental toughness is effectively, like if we really had to simplify it, it's the ability to stay focused on what you need to be focused on.
That's what it is.
And everything, like there's a lot, it's a mile deep, but like really if that was a sentence, it was that.
Yeah. So, I like Tyson's definition of discipline. It's doing things you don't want to do like you love them.
Yep.
Well, mental toughness is closer to that than it is to withstanding pain and discomfort. Pain, discomfort is a physical thing. That's toughness. That's Patrick Mahomes sprains his ankle in the game and doesn't miss a play. That's the physical toughness. The mental part is it's now the fourth quarter. Pressure goes up. Can you stay focused on what you need to do?
Love that. Number 5, stay consistent. Is this your maximum sustainable pace? Aim for total effort over the long haul.
Yeah, so people kind of like confound this where they give maximal effort and they actually overshoot it. So another word to say what you just said is threshold, right? We have to find your threshold over the long haul. That's your threshold not only today, but your threshold this week, this month, this year, your career and your life. So
I love the idea of maximum sustainable pace, but taking it out of the gym.
Yes, it's that. So what is it for your work? Is it for your family? It's so tempting for me to go, forget work. I'm just going to go and hang with my family and I want to be at my kids every single thing. But that's not the sustainable approach to this. Right. Then we have financial issues.
Somewhere down the line will be another issue.
And I haven't even shown my kids how to be a provider or protector. Like there's this thing, this balance across this. And we have to recognize is where is the maximal pursuit inside of that balance? So if you think of it in terms of a dual visualization, the first one is you have a Frisbee on a pencil, right? And the balance is like, we have all these different things, the 5 factors, right? But you could also put like the dedication to dedication to the process. You want to make sure that that's somewhat balanced, but it's also not just there. It's more like that. It's not on a pencil, it's on a fireman pole, and that plate can slide up and down. And the goal is to keep it balanced at the top of that. Because you could keep it balanced, but not be putting much effort into any of them. So the goal isn't balance. The goal is balance with maximal effort and efficiency.
Number 6 is stop comparing. Are your eyes on your own paper? Giving full effort means that there will be no reason to compare.
So twofold this. That last part is if you're truly giving your very, very best, those two things, the balance and you're giving the full maximal effort, like what else is there? Like what does it matter? Like you're comparing your journey to someone else's. They're on a different journey. But this is another one that I came across, and I wish I could give credit to this because I can't remember where I heard it. And if it comes to me, I will say it because I think it might be Jordan Peterson, which is when we compare, we don't compare the totality of our lives. we compare one small little aspect. And when we do that, we don't compare to the average person. We compare to somebody always that's slightly ahead of us in that endeavor. And that's what eats us up. So somebody that's a little bit fitter than us, we compare our fitness to their fitness. We don't compare our fitness to
the guy who just started.
The hundreds of thousands, not millions of people that we're way, way ahead of. And we're not comparing the balance of our lives to that person. We're picking the one thing that they're better than us at, right? So me as an author, I don't compare myself to like Tom Clancy. Like that's ridiculous. Or Stephen Covey or anybody. I pick somebody that's like in our space, that's a little bit better than me. And I compare like books.
Yep.
I don't compare books and coaching and family and
whether they're happy.
Happiness. Exactly right.
Yep.
And this is how the default method of our comparison. It's unfair to ourselves.
Yep.
We need to pull away from that. Comparison is the thief of all joy. If we want to enjoy the process, which is what this is about, and we want to have that longer road, we got to resist that temptation.
Number 7 is keep perspective. Can you zoom out? Remember that this too shall pass. So learn everything from this and let it go.
Perspective is so big versus if it's not going to matter in 5 years, don't give it 5 minutes right now. But the idea behind this is if you want sustainability, you have to recognize that this second thing right here is not the most crucial thing. As an elite athlete, that will eat you up in training is what ends up happening. You think that this workout is the most important. So you're going to overdo it and blow yourself up. You have to recognize that it's all part of a bigger journey.
Number 8 is go pro. Are you giving what you've got? Amateurs are the only ones who regret the might have beens and maybes.
Yeah. So it's funny. That's my definition of pro, right? And actually, I got that saying from Stephen Pressfield. He wrote a book called Go Pro,
which is so good.
It's so good, right? It's this idea of the difference between the way that the amateur approaches things versus the way a pro approaches things. And as I'm writing this for professional athletes, it's really important that they don't continue to have an amateur's mindset and approach to all of the facets of their lives. They need that mentality of becoming a pro.
Yep. Number 9 is respect time. Are you treating this like a dress rehearsal? Every part of this ride deserves our full attention and effort.
It's kind of the same type of thing, but just in a different perspective of maximizing minutes. This is one of the words that we've used and one of the taglines we've used a lot with our athletes. And I think for chasing excellence, it's a huge aspect of that, right? And I've learned a lot from my wife, Heather, in terms of what this means. She's so ultimately aware of how important every minute is with our kids. We're lucky to have the dynamic we have, which is we have 2 older kids in college and we have 2 kids in elementary school. So we have 2 kids in their 20s and 2 kids that are under 10.
Yeah.
So we know how fast that goes. Yeah. But it's not just about you with your kids. It's everything, right? We're not going to get another chance. Me and you will never, ever, ever get another chance to have this conversation right here. This is the only time we're ever going to have it. So if we're going to be distracted by other thoughts while we're having this conversation, we're not maximizing this. And if there's a thing about like the pursuit of chasing an excellent life, this is as big a part of it as almost anything. Is what is the most valuable use of my time right now? If I'm working with an athlete, one of the biggest things I want them to do is always when they're competing or doing a training session, ask yourself constantly, is this the maximal sustainable pace? Is the fastest I can go without having to slow down later? Well, if that's the case, then like you're nailing it right now. It's the same thing. We should always be having a similar question, not that question, but a similar question, which is this the very best use of my time right now? That little question, which goes to like right now, leads into, well, this moment, right? Should we be doing this podcast? Should we be having this conversation? Then it goes to, should we be doing podcasts? Should we have a public forum? Should I be in this ecosystem? Is this fulfilling me? Should I be actually fishing with a spear in Hawaii and living in a hut that I made myself? Or should I be trying to, own an F1 racing team? When you start off with that little minutia question, it lends to this bigger thing of, maximizing this minute. The first thing I have to ask is, what's the big pursuit?
Yep.
You don't know if you're maximizing this minute unless you know what this minute is a part
building
of.
towards.
Building towards.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Cool. Last one is feed curiosity. Do you settle or do you search? There is always more to learn, and we never have all the answers.
Yeah, for an athlete's perspective, it's not about passing the test, right? It's not about, okay, you can do a sub 3 minute Fran, you're fit, check the box. It's about that constant pursuit of betterment. And we used to use the word humble a lot, but I've kind of reframed my thinking on that because I think that you can be humble without being curious.
Yeah.
But you can't be curious without being humble.
I think that's right.
I think curiosity is one of the real understanding. I have so many built-in biases, so much built-in programming that's running this software that I call Ben, that if I don't step back and ask questions about why do I have those assumptions? Why do I have those beliefs? Why do I have these habits? Why do I react these certain ways? We're limiting ourselves to the way that we could potentially be experiencing this life.
Love that. Cool. Define success. Be responsible. Come ready. Be present. Stay consistent. Stop comparing. Keep perspective. Go pro. Respect time. And feed curiosity. Hello, hello, hello. Patrick back in the present day with two quick things. The first and the most important is thank you. Thank you for tuning into the show. Thank you for sharing the show. Thank you for sending us your notes. We love them. We appreciate them. Please keep them coming. The second thing, www.chasingexcellence.email. Two things to remember. One is we're going to send out a survey soon. I'd love for you to get that so you can help us continue to make the show better. And two, when you're there, while you're there, we also send out an email every single week with a link to a form where you can submit your questions. And I would love, love, love to get a bunch of new questions so that as I build out new shows, I've got lots of good questions that are on your mind. So again, thank you. www.chasingexcellence.email. The link is in the show notes, as it always is. Ben and I will be back soon for a new episode of Chasing Excellence.
For the ones who work hard to ensure their crew can always go the extra mile, and the ones who get in early so everyone can go home on time, there's Grainger, offering professional-grade supplies backed by product experts so you can quickly and easily find what you need. Plus, you can count on access to a committed team ready to go the extra mile for you. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Weddings are the celebration of all the details that make a couple perfect for each other. And you can find your perfect fit too at Indochino. Choose every detail of a custom tailored suit, from lapels to linings and more, starting at just $4.99. My bad. Shh. Sorry. Find the suit that's perfect for you. Go to Indochino.com and use code PODCAST for 10% off any purchase of $3.99 or more. That's 10% off $3.99 or more at INDOCHINO.com. Code PODCAST.